You felt excited. You thought this was kind of a silly situation. You were nervous about how close the fireworks would be. You felt pretty laid back about the whole thing. I'd say I was excited, yeah. The spontaneity of the whole thing combined with the amazement of the fireworks was a recipe for you to be bursting with anticipation. It couldn't start soon enough. Terry led Miranda to sit down on the oval slabs along the path. Miranda took a seat and began tapping her knees together as she waited. Terry, meanwhile, crouched more than sat. Baxter smiled politely and looked from you to Cove. He seemed to be waiting for one of you to speak first rather than wanting to directly start a conversation. Something seemed to strike Cove as he tried unsuccessfully to hide a smile. We're all still in swimsuits. Wearing bent beachwear in the middle of the city in the dark while waiting for a fireworks show was clearly the joke of the day for him. Cove snorted once and then looked back up at the sky. Oh, a flash lit up the sky with a brilliant green. Your eyes flew off the buildings in the distance and silently watched with bated breath. You heard a second boom and a red firework lit up in the night. Whew, that show's starting! It's so pretty! They came running over to get closer, positively beaming. Terry pressed herself to the waterfront fence, getting as close as physically possible without just going swimming again. More fireworks went off, shooting out hundreds of tiny sparkling lights. The colors stood out starkly against the dark of the night. The biggest ones washed your surroundings with their hue, turning your world blue, then red, and then golden.
Welcome.
Did I deliver, or did I deliver? Miranda's eyes glittered, and then she slightly bumped Terry with her hip. Good job! Terry stumbled at the friendly nudge, but was pleased with the compliment. She grinned back. Miranda slightly swung her hips to the opposite way to give you a bump as well. It was friendly and soft. We did it! You smiled at her and nodded. You were pleased that you hadn't missed any of the show after all. You were glad that everyone seemed to be having a good time. You weren't comfortable with how near it was. You were glad that everyone seemed to be having a good time. Coast stared up at the sky with wonder while Terry squealed in joy after a series of especially grand explosions. Miranda pointed to one that was shooting up and then gasped when it bloomed and turned into a huge sphere of violent light. Baxter smiled in appreciation. It was good to see your friends in high spirits. The rest of the group huddled around the railing, taking the show as closely as possible. Miranda stood close by. Terry's hands gripped the top, and Cove laid his arms across it while leaning forward, and Baxter rested his elbows on the rails, putting his back towards the fireworks. He seemed to have much more fun watching the others than the actual show. She pointed out a golden firework and beams. Wow, that's so cool. Terry held up a hand for a high five, and Miranda obliged her. Terry whooped and shoot you a smile. What color do you think the next one will be? Without giving Baxter a glance, Cove answered immediately. Green. It was orange. Baxter chuckled, but wasn't interested in calling Cove out for being wrong. Is that your favorite color? Green? It's one of them. I think that's nice. It matches you. And yours black. Oh my god, I didn't know that at all. That's one of them. Cove smirked just a little and left the conversation there. You sit next to the girls, you sit next to Baxter, you sit next to Cove. I mean, yeah, I can stand next to Cove. Cove looked away from the fireworks and grinned at you. He was glad to be spending time with you and tilted his head at the spectacular multicolored firework above. I think that's been my favorite so far. He shot you another look and nodded, wanting you to move up closer in front of him. You could see the night lights reflected off on the water. You rested your arm on Cove's shoulder. You leaned your body against Cove. You stayed like that. Rested your arm on Cove's shoulder. Is that like putting your arm around someone? I mean, I'll lean on him, sure. You rested against his side and let yourself relax. He felt solid and sturdy beside you. It was comfortable. You took a moment to watch him, and the fireworks reflected in his eyes. Cove grinned like a kid. Cove's gaze drifted from the show of dazzling lights straight at you, and he sighed dreamily. You didn't know when you'd last seen him so blissful. The spectacle continued to up the ante by bringing more fireworks out at a time. The colors danced across the sky and reflected above the water. He reached out a hand and watched as it was tinted green while a big boom sounded. Fireworks were a normal summer tradition, but this was admittedly an unconventional approach. Showing up in the city last minute to watch a display from a technically private event, that made this feel special in a way that just planning to go to a public fireworks show never would. Terry's idea may not have left you with a lot of time to prepare, but it sure led to a unique situation. It was clear this was an unforgettable night. As the finale sounded, blazing the sky with unbelievable beauty, you remembered thinking that there might never be a night exactly like this once again, not for the rest of your life. You planned to hold on to the feeling you had in that moment for as long as you could. Wow, it really ended that way, huh? And hold on, I feel like I've been recording for a pretty long time, and I don't know if I have space, so I'm just gonna fix that up real quick before I start the next one. Okay, as files move in the background, hopefully when we're finished recording, nothing will be messed up. But now let's go on to errands. From the moment you woke up, you knew that today was going to be busier than usual. There was a list of errands that needed to be finished before the day was done. First up was visiting one of the biggest farmers markets in the area. It was only open 2 weekends a month during certain parts of the year. It was rare that you and your family were able to attend, so your moms like to take the big ones out. Your moms like to make the most out of every minute of it. And you realized it was not just them feeling that way when you heard a whistle from your left side. Wow, this is a swanky show. Vegetables have never seemed so highbrow. Seriously, they don't mess around with their products.
Isn't that great?
Liz crossed her arms. You could tell she was amused. We could have picked a perfect trip. It's been too long since we've had a true family outing. Oh, look at her. Look at her being like, yeah, family. Her teasing tone and more than she actually did. Your next door neighbors had joined you this day. That's what made it a true family outing. 3 parents laughed approvingly. Out of the corner of your eye, you caught Cove looking at you sympathetically. Some things never changed, and some jokes never died. You'd long accepted that. You were excited to check things out. You thought this trip might be fun. You shrugged, feeling indifferent, and felt uncomfortable. You were in a bad mood. This trip was a waste of your time. You thought this trip might be fun. You smiled, trying to imagine how many stalls were set up. You were curious what hidden gems were waiting for you to discover among them. Well, I'm ready to get started. I've got plenty of dishes in mind I could use ingredients for. Before your moms responded to that, they glanced at each other and smiled. Yes, that's a very good idea, Cliff. This place is much larger than it seems. It's difficult to visit each part in a single day.
I got it.
I'm sure we can make a decent dent together at least. Actually, since there are many of us this time, we could take different sides of the market.
Sounds good.
Divide and conquer, eh? That sounds brilliant. Everyone watched your mom, surprised. No one had considered that an option, but your mom flashed the group a dazzling smile and continued with the thought. Though it is a little unfair that there are 4 Storm family members and only 2 Holdens here, so I'll go with you boys to even out the odds.
Okay.
That's fine with me. Cliff scratched the back of his neck and slowly met Cove's stare. They both seemed unconvinced, but weren't sure what to say about it. Don't worry, we'll be apart for only a few hours, and then we'll have something to talk about at the end of it. Father and son ultimately nodded. This was an argument they were going to win.
All right.
Alright, I don't get the point, but I don't mind spending the first part of the trip with Z and Ma. Ma clapped her hands together at that. Wonderful. Are the teams ready to go? Hey, I didn't agree to anything. Yeah, let's go. Can I be the ones to go with the Holdens instead? You stayed silent. See, I would have said that part where I was like, can I go with the Holdens? But like the fact that my sister was like, I'm excited to spend time with like Z and Ma, I was like, it's like I can't say that now. Yeah, let's go. Delighted, Ma hooked an arm around you and a slight little side hug. You grinned.
Thank you.
Taking the lead, Mom walked around towards Cove and Cliff, who were still eyeing her confusingly. Come on, boys, we're headed out. Sure. That was awful. I'm so sorry. Okay. Cove looked at you softly and found himself pulled forward, stopping in front of you. His expression flickered for a moment, hesitant. Bye. Suddenly he twitched slightly, his whole body getting stiff. He jerked his gaze back at your mom, and you realized that she had grabbed the hem of his shirt. She gave it a small tug before letting go.
No.
Time's a wasting, Cove. I've known you long enough to be aware that you're one to linger. If I don't stop you now, you'll only drag your feet on parting ways more. The 2 of you can survive 1 morning apart. Probably. We have important shopping to do now. Cove gasped at what he felt. It was a truly obscene thing to say. His face burned red, but that was ignored by him. He spoke with an unimpressed roll of the eyes.
Seriously?
You don't need to literally pull me away from Z. I'm not that clingy. Mom sniggered with a shake of her head. Ko's eyebrows raised over the reaction, and he turned to Ma. She wouldn't meet his eyes as she whistled innocently. Liz smirked ear to ear, and Cove lifted his head towards his dad. Mr. Holden couldn't offer anything more than an apologetic shrug. It was only then that it dawned on Cove that everyone did think he was that needy. You're the needy one. Finally, he dared to face you with wide, pleading eyes. Don't make fun of Cove. Who said you were allowed to say things like that to him? Cove is totally capable of being independent when he wants to be. There's nothing wrong with being attached. It's nice. Oh, come on, Cove. You know how it is. I mean, he's capable of being independent. I mean, he's made other friends, you know? I'm not his only friend. He spoke matter of fact, and fixed a stern gaze on the group. Cove, meanwhile, beamed at having your support. Without thinking, Cove took another step forward, feeling drawn to you. Also, again, Mom grabbed the back of his shirt. She tried suppressing her laughter, but a few chuckles escaped. Actions speak louder than words. Cove's mouth twisted as he struggled to come up with anything to say in defense. He was newly embarrassed all over again. Yeah, well, so what? The admission had Liz, your mom, and his dad bursting into laughter. Cove grimaced and walked several steps from the group before stopping. He clearly wanted to move on, so much that he was physically moving away. He smiled softly, waved goodbye. When he noticed Cove's mouth pulled into a bend of a smile of his own, and he seemed to feel better a bit.
See you later.
Take care of yourselves. At that, Mom picked a direction and set out into the market with Mr. Holden and Cove following behind her. Grinning, Ma sent them off with a big wave. Liz gave a daintier goodbye wave herself. Despite the change in plans, you were still glad to be there. You felt like the change in plans was a good idea. You felt unsure about it. You had been happy, now you were annoyed. They definitely put a damper on your good mood. Why would it? Yeah. Despite the change in plans, you were still glad to be there. It wasn't what you imagined, but that didn't matter. There was a whole market to explore, and you couldn't wait to find some good stuff. When they were gone, Ma cheerily turned towards you and Liz. She put her hands on her hips. Do you think there'll be any nice ginger around here? We'll have to find out. You nodded in agreement, keen to truly get the trip going. Ma led you both into the busy market. Some time past browsing, there were only a few stalls you stopped at. You had fun chatting and laughing, pointing out various things to Ma and Liz, and vice versa. At one point, Ma stopped suddenly. She put a hand on her belly and gave a half-hearted smile. I think I should have used the bathroom before we left home, like the two of you responsibly did. Just need to pee?
Yes.
Yes, Liz, I'll have to visit the ladies' rooms now. Should we wait here? Should Liz and I go without you? Should we all go with you? Should we wait here? Ma craned forward as she struggled to pinpoint the direction she needed to go. She gently brushed your comments away. There's no need to worry about me for this, or waste time standing around. Keep on shopping. Though actually, I may need help. I need help finding my way. Can you please come, Lizzie? You and your sister had to share a look over that. Why do that of all things?
Hey.
Ma, if anyone should go anywhere on their own, shouldn't it be you? You're the one needing a detour, and you're the parent here. Ma giggled, unfazed by the resistance. Liz, meanwhile, tipped the brow of her hat, watching Ma skeptically. Soon enough, Z will have to handle doing these kinds of errands on her own. This will make good practice. What? Ma hooked an arm around Liz's and pulled her along.
Have fun.
We'll find each other again later. Excuse me? Bye, wait, you tried following after them. You stood there stunned. What would I do? I either say wait or they're stunned. I'd probably say wait. The word burst from your lips as Ma and Liz waded into the crowd, but it was in vain. They were out of sight within moments, and what started as a group outing rapidly became you, entirely on your own. You were overwhelmed, you thought, screw them, you were done with this whole trip, you felt great being left on your own, you thought Ma was being ridiculous, but you didn't really mind. You didn't know what to do. Yeah, I don't know what to think, honestly. You still couldn't believe Ma just did that. There wasn't a single doubt in your mind that she had some ulterior motives, but for now, you had to figure out what to do next.